All right. What's up, gentlemen? 2024 fantasy football is upon us. I am super excited. I've done all my research. I know exactly who I'm going to pick. But tonight, I'm joined by my buddy Graham, as usual. And we are going to discuss who all of you should pick and select as your keepers going into this draft. Graham, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great. Just got back from LA and still jet lagged, so it's 5 o'clock my time, even though it's 8:30 real life. I'm still on West Coast time. It's
So you
good.
just got home. It seems like you were traveling, like you were gone for weeks, I felt like.
It seemed like that. No, just here and there, a couple places, just getting around. The wife and kids are in Costa Rica, so I'm a
Okay.
bachelor for a while, which is I've eaten mac and cheese and hot dogs. I need to eat I haven't had a vegetable in a week, so we'll be okay.
Good stuff, man. Yeah, your social media made it seem like you're a world traveler the past 2 weeks. Did you get into any trouble, Graham? Is there anything you'd like to disclose just to our limited viewership about what you might
Yeah.
have done?
Yeah, no, the biggest excitement was going to Venice Beach and being on the court where White Man Can't Jump was filmed. That was always cool to
Oh,
see
that's
that,
fun.
you know, outside the wind takes the ball 6 inches to the left and the right.
Did you get to play at all? Did you shoot at all or
No,
no?
I didn't bring any kicks. So just kind of hung out.
Can you dunk, Graham, or no?
No, but it actually is my new I dunked once in my life and I want to dunk again. So I'm on a program to dunk again. I want one more dunk before I die.
So just once, you dunked once in your life, just
Yeah,
one time.
just one time.
Was it in middle school when they had the little bouncy things that you could
No,
just get some launch off of?
regulation rim.
Really?
Yeah, got it one time. No free throw line, just lucky as shit and got up there.
Okay, Graham, last question on this before we move to football. Was there anyone else there that may have witnessed this happening, or was this just you alone in the gym somewhere?
Me alone in the gym.
Okay, so I
Yeah.
can't get any names and verify
No,
this.
there's no
Okay.
verification. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good. I mean, listen, I feel like we've made some progress. I've never
Right.
dunked in my life. I didn't have the athletic prowess, and yeah, I'm just a average white dude in many facets of my game, Graham. Um, but tonight we're gonna look at everyone's keeper selections, who they should pick, where the best value is. And the one thing that I didn't tell you before we started is I'd like to leave Dave Sargent for last, okay? Because I think he's got the most interesting situation. We can push Dan Roach down towards the end because he's got some nice options, but especially Sarge. Let's leave him for the end. And then the rest of us, I think, I don't know. To me, it looked like a lot of it was straightforward. Who do you want to start with, Graham?
Yeah, good question. And I agree with the Sarge pick. Sarge has a lot of picks there. Maybe we'll go from I just want to preface this. When you guys are watching this, remember, we're the experts. Clearly,
Oh,
we're the
yeah.
experts. So make sure you take our advice and follow it wholeheartedly. But I would say I want to start with Mr. West Coast guy, the binder guy, Mr. Binder,
Eric
um,
Miller.
Eric Miller, the guy that travels the farthest, um, brings the binders, gets the house for us, all the stuff. Um, and we pay him in small unmarked bills, which is great. So good stuff. I
Uh,
think start with Miller. I think that's a good place to start. Farthest
Good.
way. And
Let's let's look at him. I'm just going to read through all of his picks in case people don't have that in front of them as they're watching. He's got the options from Brock Purdy at the end of the draft, round 22. He could go Debo Samuel early in round 4. He could go Puka Nakua end of the draft, round 22. Rashee Rice end of the draft, round 22. Nico Collins, round 10, right in the middle, and Khalil Shakir in round 22. Nice little receiver there. So those are his basic options. He's only got 1 year left of life with Debo Samuel if he decides to keep him. So that's who he's got to choose from. Who do you like? Who would you pick if you were Eric Miller?
so I think I looked at this and I was like, well, he loves Debo, right? He loves Debo. He loves Purdy. I don't think he's going to take both. I think Debo at 4, while he is a wide receiver 12, I think he's going to look at Puka at 22 and take the value at Puka. I feel like there's value there at that deep draft. Like Puka's going to get a lot of touches, get a lot of looks. So I think that Puka is the pick he takes for sure. And then
Yep.
I'm not sure where he goes from Purdy, Debo, or Nico Collins. I think those are all sort of toss-ups. Rashee Rice, even though he's 22 as well, which, let's talk about how that looks on his thing. I don't know if that's going to be draw enough to get either his
Right.
quarterback he likes or Debo or Collins. So I'm tossed up there, and I think that I want to hear what you have to say about this, but that's what I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think those are the top four. I think Rasheed Rice, would be nice to have on your team, maybe as a bench flex guy, just because he plays for KC. But I think the top four are exactly what you said for Miller. What I wrote down was Purdy, Puka, and Nico Collins as my top three for him. I think that when you're looking at a receiver in the fourth round, that you could probably get around there in the regular draft anyway. It's just not as enticing to me. He's had him for 2 years. I think Debo's had a little bit of a downslide, especially as Brandon Ayuk has been kind of getting more love on that team and becoming more of the focal point of the passing offense anyway. And so for me, I would go Puka and Nico Collins. Nico's the number one in Texas with CJ Stroud. You get him in the 10th round. He's probably going to be going in the second or third round. So it's nice value there. I looked up Purdy a little bit just for some fun, just to look at some stats. Purdy finished as the 12th quarterback overall in our league last year. And so if you're going to pick a quarterback as a keeper, I think you want a top 10 guy. I think Purdy's a great quarterback. I don't think he puts up the kind of fantasy points you want as a keeper. I know it's a late round pick, but if you kept him, he'd almost be like your second. He'd be your bench quarterback that could fill in maybe. I don't know if he's the guy you want starting. If I'm going quarterback as keeper, that's the guy I'm rolling with. I don't want to think about quarterback the rest of the draft. I want to feel confident in that pick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The only reason I say Purdy is because it's Miller. If it were anybody else, I would not even have that as a conversation. Um, so I have my picks on this. It sounds like you have your picks. So what do you think? Where do you think Miller's going?
Yeah, well, where do I think he's going to go? I think you're right. He might go with Purdy just for the sake of it, but Miller goes back and forth every year. He's either in the bottom or he's in the top. This is the year that Miller is going to, I think, try to rise to the top again. And so if he's smart, he's going Puka and Nico. He's going to get two top level receivers and then focus on those top tier running backs in the early rounds of this year's draft. That's my thought. That's what I think you should do. What do you think?
I agree with you there. I think that going receiver 2 times is going to be really smart. Nico gets a lot of touches. It's a great offense. I mean, that offense is going to score a lot of points. And we all know in fantasy, you'd rather have the wide receiver 2 on a high scoring team than a wide receiver 1 on a team that doesn't score at all. So even a wide receiver 3 for that matter. And Nico is going to get lots of looks, lots of touches. They have a better defense, so they're going to get that offense on the field. I think that's going to be. I agree, Puka and Nico for sure. And Miller does have the pink plate, right? So he's still riding the pink plate. Championship pink plate.
Exactly.
So this is a big year. He's got a lot. He's got draft picks. We're going to see an extra thick binder for sure.
Yeah, I think Miller's going to bounce back. I think if he goes that way, then we can talk about this later, but I think running backs are so precious, and it's becoming more and more so hard to find a running back that's not part of a committee. That's the kind of the focal point. Those guys are going to be gone by the end of round 2. It would be nice to be able to focus on that and know that you got 2 great receivers just waiting for you at the end. So, all right. All right, so that's Miller. Those are our picks for Miller. Doesn't mean that's what you have to do, Miller. It's just the expert picks. It would be the smartest thing for you to do based on the consensus that Graham and I reached, which doesn't happen very often.
That's right.
All right, let's talk about Chris Hammond.
Let's do it.
All right, I'll just run through who he has, and then I'll turn it over to you. Okay. So
by the way, when you do this, when I re-edit this, I will have it up on the screen. I'll put those.
Oh, cool.
See what it is.
Oh, what his picks are?
Yeah, you run through them, and then I'll make sure I see this on the screen somewhere. You'll see a.
Oh, that'd be nice, Graham. Yeah. Look at us. Wow. If you can pull that off, I hope that's just you're not just getting me excited. Because if I actually see up here, in this
Oh yeah,
area, a list.
you'll see it.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
gonna be dope.
All right. So Hammond's got the following options: Jordan Love, round 17; Jamar Chase, round 4; Alvin Kamara, round 8; Trey McBride, round 22. Uh, he's got Jay Williams in round 7. I'm pretty sure that's Jamal Williams, the running back. I don't, yeah. He's got Deontay Johnson, round 6 for the Panthers now. He's got Palmer, round 22. That's not really an option. He's got Goddard, tight end, in round 3. And finally, he's got Gus Edwards, round 22 at the end there, who's now running back for Harbaugh for the Chargers. So that's the list that Hammond's got to choose from. What do you think's going on there?
Yeah, this is one where I looked at, he's got a lot of options here that are kind of weird options, right? Like Goddard's a good tight end, but 3 is, I think, too high. Chase, again, a really good wide receiver, but is 4 too high. I think taking the quarterback Jordan Love at 17 is the easy one. You go, hey, that's the pick I'm going to take. And then the
Yep.
other one, like Kamara, is old. Jamal Williams is running back 64. You get him whenever you want.
Right.
I don't know if you waste a pick on it. So I think at the very least, Jordan Love is the first pick, and then again, what you said before is like if you get Jamar Chase in 4, that means round 1, 2, 3, you have to go after a running back, knowing you have that number 1 receiver in that 4. So I think that Love and Chase would be good. I don't see going Goater unless he go on tight end that early. So what do you think? I think Jordan Love for sure, and then
Yeah.
Shamar after that.
Okay, so if I were him, I'd be struggling between Jamar Chase in the 4th round because it's still value there. I mean, in a lot of PPR mocks I've looked at, he's going at the end of the 1st round in a lot of drafts. I mean, this is supposed to be Cincinnati's bounce back year. Burrow's healthy. They're keeping him healthy all through camp. It's the first healthy camp he's had since he's come into the league. And they got a nice little college player to fill in the gap for Tyler Boyd leaving. That's electric. So I think their offense is going to be just back in action. And so if that's the case, and you can get a 1st round receiver in Chase in the 4th round, I think it's fine. But Trey McBride in round 22, this guy is becoming kind of a PPR monster out in Arizona. We know their quarterback is returning this year in Arizona, and I've seen Trey McBride listed as the 2nd and 3rd tight end to be picked in fantasy football this year, like all over the place. And so if it's that kind of value, and Trey McBride's usually going in the end of the 4th, early 5th rounds in most drafts as a top, 5 type tight end, and you can get him in round 22. I hate worrying about tight ends in the draft. Like me personally, I'm always like, shit, do I go in the 3rd round, 4th round and get this top tier guy? Or do I wait late? I mean, I had this internal debate every time we draft. I'm like, dude, I could get Kelsey right now, but you know what? I could also get, someone else in round 9. It's always a struggle for me. So answering that question for me, getting McBride in round 22 might just let me relax a little bit and focus on the skill positions I feel more comfortable with. But at the end of the day, we're here to win championships. That's all we're here to do. Is Trey McBride going to give you that much of an edge at tight end? Maybe not. And it's still questionable. Is he really a top 3 or is he more like a top 7? So if I'm really going for it this year, I'm putting my chips in. I agree with you. Jordan Love's got to be one of the picks. Probably like a 4th or 5th quarterback in the league this year in that range. You get him in round 17. And I go all in with Cincinnati. He's got 1 year left of eligibility with Hammond. Hammond could keep him all 3 years and just ride that Cincy train. It was a down year last year. Burrow was hurt, but this stuff doesn't last forever. It could be bounced back for Cincy. I think Hammond should go with Jamar and Love.
Well, that's we're agreeing twice now. So
Pretty awesome.
there we go. We are the fantasy experts have spoken. So Hammond, Jordan Love, and Jamar Chase will be your keepers. Jesse will enter that into Yahoo after this podcast. But by the way, we should have a dollar bet for each pick. So right now, no money's being exchanged, but we should have a
That's
dollar,
right.
dollar pick here. I think
I
you're right.
feel, yeah,
I think I'm going with Jamal Chase. Jamal Chase again. You get a top receiver and a top offense, and like you said, you don't worry about it. You're here to get the points. I think the difference between tight end 4 and tight end 7 is a couple touchdowns here or there for the whole season. So I think getting, even though it's 22, would you even get Jamar Chase in the fourth round, or will he be gone in the third? And then that at least gives you one round up, right? So
yeah,
who
or
knows?
2 rounds maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, cool. Who do you want to? I'll let you pick the next person you want to focus on. Who do you think we should go
I
to?
think we should go early on. I'd like to go with the Poseidon, the god of the sea, Mr. Craig Constantino, catching 800-pound blue marlins 100 miles off the shore. I mean, this guy, man, what a stud to be off and making leaderboards at Ocean City. So I think we should go with Craig.
Dude, the size of that fish, man, was unbelievable. And I have a buddy I work with who's really into the tournaments down there. He's gone to Ocean City every summer for that stuff. He's really into it. He showed me a picture of Craig sitting on the fish that his buddies had sent him just randomly. Didn't even know
Wow.
I was connected with Craig. And so like that picture was going around, man. And people that were into that was a pretty big event, man. So props for Craig for pulling that
Yeah,
sucker in the boat,
that's
man.
amazing.
Yeah. All right. So Craig, let's look at Craig's options. Okay, we got Jalen Hurts in round 9, Mike Evans in round 8. We got Godwin in round 4. Um, Rashad White, running back for Tampa in round 5. He could go Brees. Wait, Brees Hall?
Brees Hall. Yeah.
Wow, I forgot he had Brees Hall. Round 6. Njoku in round 22. Michael Pittman in round 11, or Amari Cooper in round 3. A lot of good players on that list. What do you think?
Well, again, I think that so far as you can tell, the first three, everyone has one easy pick. Brees Hall round in the 6th round. I mean, Brees Hall is
Yeah.
going as number 1, number 2 running
Yeah.
back. I think that is the easiest pick for Craig. And then he has some decisions to make. I think that Godwin at 4 is good. Rashad White had a decent year. We see that we're having the quarterbacks coming back in Tampa. He's back in Tampa, right? Rashad White, he travel somewhere else. I
Yeah.
can't remember.
Yeah, he's the guy in Tampa.
Yeah. And then I think Pittman in the 11th round. I mean, I think that's an interesting pick for that round. I think he'll definitely go earlier. He is a wide receiver 20, so he should be
Yep.
gone in the top 5 rounds.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, Greg has some choices. I think it really comes down to how many beers Craig is deep into before the draft starts.
um, I'll talk about this just kind of as something interesting. Njoku in round 22 would be a nice, safe little way to get your tight end taken care of. He finished the second half of the year, really strong. He was a top 5 tight end through weeks 9 through 17 last year, and really helped himself out and ended up finishing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6th best tight end. Oh, hold on. Yeah, the 6th best tight end in our league last year, but that was really because of a strong finish. And so that's like, to me, again, I kind of like taking care of the tight ends. It's an option. If you wanted to go Brees Hall and Njoku, I wouldn't hate him for it. Although I don't think that's his best play. Um, I like Pittman in round 11. It's great value there. Pittman's ADP is the top of the 4th round right now. That Indy offense with their quarterback coming back healthy is going to be potentially electric. Rashad White is on every fantasy expert sleeper list as just a reliable RB2. Getting him in round 5, I don't know. You could probably get him at the end of round 4, around that range anyway. So there's not great value there. But ultimately, man, these running quarterbacks on great offenses, it's hard to pass that up. And if I got Jalen Hurts and Brees Hall in round 6 and 9, I mean, those are foundational fantasy players in some later rounds, and I can pick some like filler in rounds 1 through 5. That's the way I personally would feel like. Again, you're here to win the league, not play it safe. Hurts and Hall feels right.
You know, I had that down too. Thinking about like going Hurts, going Hall. I mean, Hall is an easy pick, but then like what is next? I mean, we haven't even talked about Mike Evans, who every year catches 1,000 yards.
Yeah,
Um, so another guy that's out there. But I really think that even though Tampa Bay, the offense, it's not a super sexy offense, but you have a quarterback coming back, you've got a receiver coming back, you have running back coming back. I think it's going to be he's going to go with running back, running back. He gets Brees Hall, he gets Rashad White. He's done at the running back. He's like, now I can focus on wide receivers, tight end, quarterback. He can be a little adventurous when it comes to the pick, knowing he has these guys already locked up. So that's my pick. I'm going Hall and White, and you are going Hall and Hurts.
yeah. I like the White pick. I just don't like it around 5 as a keeper. I just don't think there's enough value there. When I pick my keepers, I want a lot of value. It's just too close to where his ADP is for me. So I'm pushing back on the Rashad White pick. I'm not going to hate him if he does it. It makes sense. Running backs are hard to get. He might not be able to access another running back if he doesn't pick him. I get it, but I just don't love the value enough to go there to agree with you. So is that your final choice, Graham?
Final answer.
Okay. I'll
So
put a little box around
we
it.
got our first disagreement. There we go, guys.
He'll
White
probably pick.
Hurts.
He'll probably end up picking Njoku and Pittman anyway, so it
That's
doesn't
right.
matter. All right, cool. All right, so that's it for Craig. He's got some nice options, man. He's going to be sitting pretty going into the draft. He can make another strong push. He's the champ. He's the returning champion. All right, let's talk about what I thought was a pretty easy one, and I want to know if you agree with this. Leonard Boyd. When I
Oh,
looked at his
interesting. Yeah,
options,
I
I
think
can't.
yeah. I don't know if he's that. I don't know if he. I want to hear what you have to say about this. I don't know. I want to hear what you have to think, what you say, because I think it's a little more complicated than
Okay.
you do.
I'll read his options, and then you tell me where you think there's some struggles. He's got the option of picking Dak Prescott in round 21, Brandon Ayuk in round 4, Lamar Jackson in round 4, Pacheco in round 19, Dalton Schultz, tight end, round
Oh,
22.
that's ski you're looking at.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, I went down. Sorry. Dak 21. That was right. Ayuk round 4. That was right. Garrett Wilson round 16. David Montgomery round 10. James Cook round 7. Ferguson in round 22. OBJ in round 10. Tyler Algier in round 20. Trevor Lawrence in round 3. And Roshan Johnson, solid running back for the Bears, in round 20. So sorry about that little gaffe there. Yeah, I read some of Ski's. I should have put on my glasses. But anyway, you're right. He's got a lot to choose from, but ultimately it comes down to 2 players for me. Who do you think is going to be tempting for Lenny?
Well, I'm gonna say who I think is tempting, but you can't do it because of the contract. But Brandon Ayuk at
Yeah,
4 is interesting, but until there's a contract signed,
yeah,
which
yeah,
might happen before our draft, I'm not
yeah,
touching that because you don't know where he's gonna play. Or he's gonna
yep,
hold out. But I think Garrett Wilson at the 16, and he's a wide receiver 4. The guy's a stud. He's going to come off the board in the first, second round, but getting him in the 16th is again a steal. I think that's where I would go first. That's my first. I would look at that board, and then after
me too.
that, uh, Cook at 7. I mean, obviously OBJ I wouldn't take at 10. Algier at 20, a running back by committee in Atlanta. Montgomery at 10. I mean, you can't go Lawrence. Lawrence at 3. Lawrence is going to get drafted in the 10th round.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I think it's kind of process of elimination. I think it's Cook and Wilson.
What about Dak Prescott in round 21?
I think he'll be there anyway. I don't
Not
see.
in round 21.
I don't know. Like we have 10 teams in our league, and we'll have he's not the 10th best quarterback.
I mean, Graham, I'm pulling up quarterback 2023 fantasy points. Dak Prescott, number one at 829 points. He's the
Yeah,
number one quarterback in our league last year, points wise, followed by Buffalo's Josh Allen, Jared Goff, and Jalen Hurts. I
yeah.
mean, he threw he threw 36 touchdowns, only 9 picks. He threw for 4,500 yards, and he ran for 2 touchdowns. I know that what happens is our memory gets tainted and we begin to hate him in the offseason because they cannot do anything in the playoffs and he looks like garbage the last game we saw him play. But in the regular season, he and CeeDee Lamb are on fire.
They are for sure. I mean, like he's got a great offensive line. They're all. I guess what it is, what you're saying is right. Is that he underperforms so many times. You focus on the underperformance and
Yep.
not the performance, right? So, yeah. I mean, like at 21, at that pick, maybe for sure. I mean, I look at it like I don't want to touch it because I feel like there's just too much. I just feel like a lot can go wrong in Dallas. Maybe that's my prejudice.
Yeah, and they're consistently like 12 game winners per year the past 3 years or so, and maybe it's time for them to fall off a little bit. But I don't know, man. You're looking at the number one quarterback you could get around 21. That's a nice thing not to have to think about. But yeah, so all right, so my pick, like to me, when I looked at Lenny, I was like, I think you got to go Dak and Garrett Wilson. But you think it could be Garrett Wilson and who?
James Cook, the running back.
Tell me, tell me why you like James Cook.
Well, I think that the offense is changing. There, I think he's got a chance to like take over. Um,
Mm-hmm.
all the goal line. He's gonna take over all the running back. I think you're gonna have Josh Allen maybe not running as much. We'll see. Um, and I feel like he's put in position to be the number one guy. And I think we'll see that, especially with again, if he's at the goal line, he's getting some carries. Now that might be the guy you say, okay, um, does he get an extra 2 or 3 touchdowns a year because of that? And I think again, go back to the running back. If I'm done with if I have a running back and a receiver, I can focus on different things. I think you can find a better quarterback. Bear with me than Dak when you get him. I feel like
Yeah, I
Dak.
mean,
I feel like Dak has hit his peak. I feel like when you look at Dak, he had a great year, but I think he definitely doesn't have more good years ahead of him. So to get another quarterback, even if you get the guy out of Carolina, who had a terrible year in the 23rd pick, he's got 3 good years ahead of him potentially, where Dak's not going to have 3 good years. So then you have a keeper possibility. I don't know. I mean, I think that again,
yeah,
maybe my not looking at the numbers from last year or being prejudiced of Dak's inconsistency takes me
yeah.
out of that.
Yeah, I think that you're making a solid argument for James, Dalvin's brother, right? And he really doesn't have any competition in the backfield. They drafted some guy named Ray Davis out of Kentucky this year, but other than that, I don't even recognize the name of the other two running backs on their roster right now in terms of depth. Ty Johnson is somewhat familiar. Darrington Evans, he's probably not even going to make the team. So it's really the James Cook show, and it's Buffalo, which is always good offense, running quarterback, which opens up lanes for the running back. So you've convinced me that it's a little more complicated than just taking Dak and Wilson, and maybe James Cook will be an option for him. I'll still say Dak. Well, I'll put you down for James Cook, and we'll see what Lenny decides.
There we go. Our second disagreement of the night. This is good.
Now, what round is he going to get James Cook in? Let me just check that one more time. Round 7. Yeah, it's good value. It's good
Yeah.
value. Okay. All right.
So we got 4
And
down. So that's so we're gonna go. We had Ski, Eric, Graham, you, me, and we'll finish off and with Roach and Sarge. Do you want to go with Roach, the artist, the toenails, the foot?
yeah, we can do Roach and then we'll do Eric Graham. How about that?
That's good.
Okay. I will read off Roach's options here. I thought Roach had some really nice choices. I think he's done a good job securing some late round picks, but here they are. He could go with Sam Howell in round 22. Rashid Shaheed, round 22. Romeo Dobbs, round 22. Terry McLaurin, round 5. Kyron Williams, very good running back for the Rams, in round 22, which is great value. He can go Swift, running back, round 6. DeAndre Swift, round 6. He could go Kyle Pitts in round 6. Tight end that everyone's just waiting to finally do what he did his rookie year. Thielen, round 8, I don't think is really an option anymore. He could go Tyjae Spears, running back for the Titans, now that King Henry's gone, round 22. Curtis Samuel, round 22. He could go Sutton, receiver for Denver, in round 13. He could go with everyone's favorite hybrid tight end, Taysom Hill, round 22. He could go with running back Zach Moss, good running back, round 22. He could go A.J. Dillon, round 15. And so, yeah, he's got a lot of late round value options there sitting in front of him. What do you think about Roach's position? Who do you think he should go with?
Well, again, a number one easy pick, Kyron Williams. I mean, that's at 22. That's an easy pick there for him to start with.
Yep.
And then, looking after that, I mean, Romeo Dobbs had a good season and a good offense. I think he's a good pick.
Yep.
I wouldn't risk Kyle Pitts at 6. I feel like Kyle Pitts would probably be an 8th or 9th round pick.
I agree.
Obviously, I mean, the best thing, if you don't know what to do here, if I were Roach, if I'm Roach, I'm taking Taysom Hill at 22 and saying, hey, you know what? I got him now. He'll be added and dropped more times than well, I won't use any unfamily friendly terms here, but yeah, I feel like Roach would go Taysom Hill, but no, in all seriousness, I think Romeo Dobbs is the place that I would go at that late round, get some upside. That's I think where I would go with him.
Yeah, it's tough for me because I totally agree with you. Kyron Williams is a pick he just has to pick. Kyron's going in the 1st to 2nd round in most PPR drafts because he just ran the rocks so much in LA. Their coach loves using kind of one running back. I know they drafted someone high. I think his name's Blake Corum. But Williams is still the guy there. And so that's what you have to do if it's a round 22 slot. Romeo Dobbs is really safe. I think Dobbs is kind of a wide receiver 3 in our league, 2 to 3. I don't think he's as bad as a flex, but he's going to have weeks where he's just putting up numbers. So it's nice to have. I'm really tempted by Tyjae Spears in Tennessee in round 22 because I think Tyjae is going to be a solid running back too. He's on a lot of sleeper lists. The problem is, if I remember correctly, and maybe you can remind me, I think there's a little bit of competition all of a sudden. Oh, yeah. Tennessee, yeah. If they hadn't acquired the running back from Dallas, Tyjae Spears, it would be my pick all day. But he's going up against the running back Pollard, who looked electric in the first preseason game last weekend. And so that turns me off from Tyjae because it looks like it's going to be I think it was a 50-50 split in terms of timeshare in that first preseason game. I think that's what's going to be reflected during the regular season. So I think Tyjae Spears is going to have some really nice weeks. The question is when, which weeks. The one player I forgot to mention for Roach, he could go Russell Wilson in round 22, but I don't like that situation in Pittsburgh. I think Russell's going to start maybe the first 2 games of the season and get supplanted by the more electric quarterback Justin Fields they got from Chicago. So, boy, man, it's tough. I think Dobbs is a solid pick. Zach Moss even is not bad to consider because he left. He's running for the Bengals now. He was the backup at the Colts last year. He put up some good numbers when Jonathan Taylor was hurt, and now he's running for the Bengals. And so he's going to get a lot of carries in Cincinnati on a good offense. So Zach Moss is something to consider too. It's a tough one, man. Spears, Moss, or Dobbs would be my second pick for Roach. I don't know what I would do, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be the same no matter what. I think there's not a lot of difference between getting, he has Shaheed at 22, Dobbs at 22, Spears at 22, Samuel at 22, Russell Wilson at 22,
Right.
Taysom Hill, Zach Moss at 22. I think all those players are going to finish about the same among like where they are ranked wise, right? So you're not going to have one guy. The only thing you can think about is there a home run? And I think the home run guy um, might be Moss because he's going to play in a really high end offense.
Yeah.
Moss could be to say he might be the guy. So you know what, this guy is going to has the most upside. But all these guys have a pretty low floor, in my opinion, and the highest upside I think is Moss. Even though I think initially Dobbs, but like thinking about it, how you're saying it, I think Moss might be the way I would take this to think about just upside
Yeah.
in the 22nd round.
Yeah, it would be very tempting for me to go Moss or Spears along with Kyron because, again, when you can secure two solid running backs at the end of the draft and not have to worry about that and focus on other stuff at the beginning, it's just to me it just gives you an advantage in those first two rounds to get some explosive receivers, maybe even a tight end in round 3. You don't even have to worry about running backs until round 5 or 6. That dead zone starts. So Roach, man, I think our consensus is you got to go with Kyron Williams and maybe Zach Moss, and that should be the route you go. And if you don't go Moss, it's got to be either Spears and then Dobbs. If you go somewhere else other than those top 4, we think you're making a mistake.
Yep.
Okay, buddy.
But we
Okay.
also know that both players will be dropped by week 8.
Yeah, I mean they'll be on my team by week 8.
All right. Eric Graham,
Yeah, yeah. EG
EG. Now
Scorp
I'm looking
speed.
forward to this because I think he has the worst of all the picks I've seen. Um, I looked at this and I would be like, well, I don't even want keepers this year. I looked at this.
That's not fair. You haven't seen my picks are worse than Eric's. I think Eric's got some interesting options. Let's go through them real quick, okay?
Yeah,
Uh, he could keep Matthew Stafford in round 22, DJ Moore in round 5. He could go with his favorite guy, George Pickens, in round 11. You know he loves some Pickens. He could go Zamir White, the starting running back for the Raiders, in round 22. Zamir White looked really good last year, especially the second half of the year. He could go Chuba Hubbard in round 22, the running back for Carolina. Now, Carolina drafted a running back in the first round, or yeah, I think for first or second round, maybe a little bit later, but he should have been a first round pick, but he was injured. His name's Jonathan Williams, I think. He was the best college running back last year before his injury. He's going to come back probably in week 4 or 5. But Chuba Hubbard was a workhorse. He's not a talented back, but he's a workhorse back. Round 22 for Carolina. He could go Conklin round 22. That's not really an option. Demarcus Robinson round 22. That's not really an option. Jalen Warren, 50-50 timeshare in Pittsburgh with Najee Harris round 22. He could go Jaden Reed, slot receiver for Green Bay, round 22. He could go Kyler Murray, who's back and ready to ball out, running quarterback. He's been off our radar. We don't think he's any good, but he is good, and he could get him in round 22 and secure the quarterback position. And finally, yeah, that's it. Kyler Murray finishes his list in round 22 in terms of offensive skill keepers he could pick. So I think there's some talent there. I think there are some scrubs, but there is some talent. If this was your list, Graham, who would you pick?
well, I mean, I think that I would go first with Kyler Murray. I mean, that getting him again, starting quarterback, QB top 6, getting him in the 22nd round,
Yeah,
and then being done, and then you take a flyer on a top quarterback later,
yeah,
who's number 1 pick, who no one's going to pick in 23rd round, whatever it might be. Good place to be. And then getting Jalen Warren, I think getting a running back, even though running back by committee, we all know running backs get hurt, right? So if you have a guy and then Najee Harris gets hurt, or Najee
yeah,
Harris who didn't have any really explosive moves at all of last year, then you have the number 1 running back for a team that also has a new offensive coordinator who was a head coach at Atlanta who ran the ball a lot. So I think that's a
yep,
good way to think about that is you get a guy and an offense that's going to run a lot two new quarterbacks, what's going to happen, but they're going to count on running the ball because they've
Oh yeah.
got Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. So I think I would lean that way. I think that getting Pickens at 11, it might be, I mean, I think he's going to go around that way, so it wouldn't be bad. DJ Moore, who's in Chicago, I know everyone's talking about Chicago's offense, but it's still a rookie at the quarterback position, and I
Yep.
don't like that at all. So, everyone's saying, oh, the revamped offense. Well, let's see how it goes first before we start picking up wide receivers and running backs and quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that if I were looking at it, I would go, I'm leaning towards Warren. I would definitely take Murray. Chuba Hubbard, I mean, that's a bad offense. I mean, no matter, he could be the number one guy. I don't want the number one guy on a team that's going to score 10 points a game. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like, I mean, his most talented keeper is DJ Moore, but I don't like him in round 5 because I think that's right around where his value is anyway. And Stafford had a nice year last year, but the guy he can sling it. He's starting to remind me of Joe Flacco. There's nothing wrong with his arm, but he does not move well anymore. I don't want statuesque quarterbacks in our league. So he's not an option for me. So DJ Moore's not an option at 5. Stafford's not an option. Pickens is going to be in a running offense. We saw how the receivers struggled in Atlanta last year. I think this is going to be a totally revamped offense. I think the running backs are going to look good. I think it's going to be a completely different offense in Pittsburgh than we saw when Kenny Pickett was running it, certainly. But I think that favors Jalen Warren a lot more than it does Pickens. So I like the Jalen Warren option at 22. I like Kyler Murray at 22. The only other option that I would strongly struggle with is this Zamir White kid in Las Vegas. If you look him up, he put up really good numbers last year. Let me just see where Zamir White finished in our league in terms of points. Wow, Rashad White for Tampa finished at 6, right in front of Mostert. But Zamir White finished. Yeah, he's not in the top that I can see area, which indicates to me that he had some really nice weeks, but he hasn't put up a full season of points yet.
So he had 23 touches and 114 yards averaging in the final 4 weeks, right? So
yeah, that's what it was. It was the end of the season. Yeah.
Yeah, he had end of the season, he's getting the rock, which is great. And of course with Josh Jacobs now in Green Bay opens it up for him. So that's a flyer. So that's what I look at, like, okay, if I can get Zamir White at 22, even like if you went Zamir White and Jalen Warren and had 2 running backs with a lot of upside, and then knowing that, like, okay, well, now I can draft sort of free. If I get a running back number 1, also if I don't, I still have 2 guys who can get the ball. It might free up his draft strategy by taking 2 running backs later.
Yeah, I think both those running backs are like solid number 2 type running backs. You know what I mean? And those are important to build depth on because those guys get hurt, and you can feel great, having Breece Hall. But when he goes down in week 3 and he's out for like 5 weeks, you really want your stable of like, solid running backs to fill in. And when you don't have it, it's a struggle, bro. So yeah, all right. So who's the final picks for EG?
For me, final answer: Kyler Murray, Zamir White, and I'm picking Zamir White over Jalen Warren just because I think there's a better upside because White will be the number 1 guy. And Jalen will split carries. That's the only reason. And same draft, both 22. But I think that Kyler Murray and Zamir White are my picks.
Yep, that's exactly my thinking. I think Jalen Warren is like almost exactly the same type of back as Zamir White, but I just think that Zamir is more the focal point of the offense at this stage, especially because they lost their main guy. He left last year, and so it's the Zamir White show. At least coming into this year, he finished strong. So let's go Zamir White, Kyler Murray for Eric Graham.
Right.
All right, Graham.
We agree once again.
We got to do each other real quick. All right, we're not going to give away who our picks are at this point, but
we have Ski left, and then we can go you, me, and then we'll finish off.
Oh, do it. Okay, you're right. We got to do Matrosky. Good call. Ski Dog. How could I forget my favorite guy?
Captain Consistency, man. This guy is like
Yep.
he's like what's that geyser that always blows at the same time every day and over reliable. What's it called? I forget what it's called. But
Old
um
Faithful.
Old Faithful. Yeah, he's Old Faithful, man. He just every year, top four finisher.
I think Ski probably does blow a load at the same time every day. He seems very regimented. You know what I mean?
Right. Yes,
He's like a
235.
pre-shower guy. Every morning. Okay. Here's what Ski has to choose from. I read some of these before in error, so I'll read them again. He can go tight end Mark Andrews in the second round. Lamar Jackson, round 4. Isaiah Pacheco, round 19. Dalton Schultz, tight end for the Texans, round 22. He can go Pollard, running back for the Titans now, round 17. He could go Dalton Kincaid, uh, tight end for the Bills, round 17. He can go Najee Harris, round 3. Hollywood Brown, who just got hurt per usual in preseason, round 8. He could go Devin Singletary, who's got a chance at being a starter again in round 22. He can go Jerome Ford in round 22. He only has 1 year of keeper eligibility with Mark Andrews, which is why it's such a high round pick at this point. And yeah, Pacheco has 2 years of eligibility left, and Pollard only has 1 year of eligibility left. So those are his choices. I like a lot of them. He's got some nice things to pick from. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I think the ski has the most interesting of picks because he can go so many different directions. Um, Lamar at 4 um, guarantees you a number, a top 3 quarterback, a high floor type of quarterback. Will he be gone by 4? My guess is he probably will be. Pacheco at 19, another good pick. Pollard, who's going to split carries that we talked about in Tennessee at 17, a good pick. Obviously Najee at 3 was a bust for last year.
Yeah, it's too high.
Yeah, and Schultz, I think at 22 was a pick. I
Yep.
think this will be one where we might disagree a little bit. But I'm thinking I will take for me, I would take Lamar because I feel like I want to have a quarterback that's going to have a high ceiling. Count on him every single, and I can pick somebody else up later. And then going next, I really think that Checo at 19 is where I would go. But although I wouldn't pull away from Schultz if he was there, like Schultz at 22, a decent pickup for that tight end position. So I'd be torn between those two players.
Yeah, when I wrote down my list originally, I looked at Lamar. It's really tempting. Again, I always come back to the value. I can get Lamar in round 4 if I really have a hard on for him, and I don't need to have him as a keeper there. Um, Although it's Lamar Jackson, so if he decides to go with Lamar Jackson, slot him in at round 4, good for him. Like no one's going to argue about that. Mark Andrews is too high in round 2. He's kind of listed as like the top 5th or 6th tight end now on all these lists. I really like Pacheco in round 19. He is the only running back in Kansas City. The offense is better on paper. They've filled out their receiver core. I think that their offense is now going to turn into a strength where their defense had been carrying them the past 2 years. I think Pacheco's set for a nice year. So to have a workhorse on one of the best offenses in the league at round 19, you almost just have to go there because running back again is just a position that's hard to secure. So I go Pacheco in round 19. And for me, probably because I'm a little bit forlorn about this, I traded Dalton Kincaid to Ski last year. I have a tendency to draft these guys as rookies, and they don't really blow up until like week 14. I think he's going to have a nice year, man. I think he's a very athletic tight end. I would pick him over Schultz in 22 because of the upside. The guy is a freak athlete. I know he's got a little competition in Buffalo at tight end, but I just think his athleticism is going to make him a top 5 tight end this year. To get him in round 17, I'd be very tempted by that. And so for me, I would forego Lamar Jackson. If I really wanted him, I'd go on a mission to get him in round 4. And I would keep Kincaid and Pacheco because you got to keep Pacheco.
All right. So you going Kincaid and
Yep.
Pacheco. All right. Yeah, I'm agree with you with Pacheco. I think he's the guy to take there. But I'm taking Lamar. I'm taking a guy off the MVP season. Second year with the offensive coordinator. Second year with Zay Flowers. They're gonna have a great running back that RPO. When you're the linebacker, and do I get Lamar? Do I get King Henry? Which way do I go? And Lamar just gets a free reign off the edge. It should be a fun offense to watch. So I feel like I would want to take that pick, especially being like a local, Ski being local. I feel
Yeah.
that way towards him taking Lamar. But he's also pragmatic, so I can see where he would go Kincaid. Especially, I think Kincaid over Schultz. I think the 17th or 22nd, I think that Schultz has, he's in a really deep offense.
Yep.
Ezekiel Collins, everyone else inside Houston, where Kincaid is in a very shallow
Yep.
options. Obviously, Dawson Knox is there, but I think Kincaid, as you mentioned, he's athletic. He can do it. So I think that if it comes down to Kincaid or Schultz, he goes Kincaid, and it goes over Pacheco or Jackson. I think he goes needs Pacheco, and then, as you said, picks up Jackson. But I think I'm going with Lamar and Pacheco. You saying Kincaid and Pacheco?
Yeah. But I think like you've been persuasive. Like I would for the next 2 weeks leading up to our draft, I think I'd really struggle over the Kincaid um, and um, Baltimore quarterback.
Jackson.
Yeah, Lamar. I kept thinking Lamar Jackson pick. I'd be suffering over that for 2 weeks because that'd be a tough one for me. If Lamar was like in round 6, I would just like it a lot more, but it's fine. He can't go wrong with either one of those. It'd be great to have Lamar on your team. It is a nice option. So yeah, I'm torn. I'm torn, man. Those
Yeah.
are the top 3 though for me:
Yeah.
Kincaid, Jackson, and Pacheco. But Pacheco, you got to pick Pacheco.
Yeah, that sort of 19th for sure. All right, so it's down to 3 people: you, me, and Sarge.
Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read your options and I'm going to tell you what I think you're going to pick. You don't have to tell us where you're leaning because we want it to be a surprise. I'm just going to tell you because I'll be your expert, Graham. Okay?
All right.
All right. So here's Graham's options. He can go Patrick Mahomes in round 3, Calvin Ridley in round 19, who's playing for the Titans now, by the way. Jerry Jeudy in round 6, Isaiah Likely for Baltimore, round 22. It's good value. He can go Jonathan Taylor in round 3. Gabe Davis, who's now starting on the outside for where did he at Jacksonville? He's at Jacksonville now. You can go, and Gabe Davis, by the way, is round 9 for you. You could go Drake London with some new quarterback action in Atlanta, new offensive coordinator, round 4. You can go Evan Ingram, had a great second half of the year at tight end in Jacksonville, was a top 5 tight end through weeks 9 through 17. That's a good option in round 5. You could go Josh Jacobs, round 3. That's pretty early for Josh Jacobs. Now, Josh Jacobs left the Raiders, and he's a Packer, right?
Green Bay, yeah.
Yeah. So that's an interesting pick because Green Bay got rid of their top running back, and they've got Josh Jacobs there now. But it's pretty high in round 3. You got C.J. Stroud in round 22, Graham. We'll come back to that, but to me, that's kind of a no-brainer. And then you got Justin Tucker in round 9. He's the only kicker I put down on the keeper list for anyone just because it's Justin Tucker. I just kind of laugh because you never know with people. Everyone likes Justin Tucker on their team. And quite frankly, I've seen Justin Tucker go around round 9 in drafts at times. So to me, Graham, there's one choice that you just have to make, and that's CJ Stroud in round 22. That's like, quite frankly, if you don't go that route, and I think you will, that would be ridiculous. You can't turn down CJ after the rookie year he had. Imagine how good he's going to be next year with a year under his belt around 22. You don't have to think about quarterback at all the whole draft. It's a blessing. So that's one of your picks. Now the question becomes, you've got some high-end talent in the upper rounds. And to me, I don't go Jacobs round 3. He's too hot or cold. His floor's all over the place. I don't like Josh Jacobs for Green Bay in round 3. If it was round 9, I'd consider it. Evan Ingram, I like his performance in the second half of the year at tight end, but round 5, it's too high. He's probably not going to go to round 8 anyway. So there's no value there. I like Gabe Davis starting for Jacksonville, but Gabe Davis has a history of catching for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns and then disappearing for 4 weeks. So to me, it comes down to Jonathan Taylor in round 3 or Drake London in round 4. Those are 2 high-end guys. Everyone's saying Drake London is as talented as Garrett Wilson. He just has not had the offensive scheme or the quarterback to hook him up and give him those opportunities. And this is going to be his year. If it's his year and he ends up a top 10 receiver in Atlanta and you pick him in round 4 and he's got a round 1 or 2 value, you're running. It's free money. So that would be very tempting for me. Jonathan Taylor, great running back. He's going in the early second round. His ADP is early round 2. You get Jonathan Taylor in round 3. You still get value. You get a workhorse for the Colts with a great offensive system, with a nice receiving core, with a running quarterback. I mean, you can't argue with it. It's nice to have that running back room locked up. So yeah, I would struggle between the Drake London and Jonathan Taylor pick. It's going to hurt giving up a round 3 or round 4 because, you know, you miss out on some of that amazing round 22 type of value. So I think I would go Jonathan Taylor because I'm swinging for the fences. I get him in round 3. I know I got value, and I go CJ Stroud, and I've got 2 foundational pieces to my fantasy team I don't even have to think about. But I know you, Graham. I know you. You're going to see Mahomes in round 3, and you're going to be like, but it's Mahomes. He's got a completely retooled receiving core. It's Patrick freaking Mahomes, dude. He's got the potential to have one of those 2005 Peyton Manning 50 touchdown seasons. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's got that potential. And when you have him, I don't care what round, as a potential keeper, you always kind of like hesitate as you look at his name. But that being said, CJ Stroud in round 22, even over Mahomes, you got to go Stroud. And then I think you got to go Jonathan Taylor. Those are my thoughts.
Well, you make some good arguments there. And I think, interestingly enough, to take CJ Stroud and Mahomes.
What if you did that? That would be crazy.
Right? Because now I think a top quarterback off the board, and I now have potential trades coming my way when some top quarterback gets injured. So could I turn that a 3rd round pick into a 1st round running back, 2nd round running back, a receiver? What can I do with that pick? So,
you're so Machiavellian, dude. I forgot how Machiavellian you are. That's probably what you're going to do. You're probably going to go Mahomes and CJ Stroud. You're such a little punk, dude. That's funny.
yeah, because like, look, Jonathan Taylor could get injured. I could get Jacobs whenever I get Jacobs. So yeah, I mean, I've kind of thought about, like, that's interesting. As you're saying this, I was like, I could be a little devious and take Mahomes and Stroud, and then everyone else is fighting over the quarterbacks. I've got 2 of the top 5 quarterbacks on my team, and then save that for later in the season when someone gets hurt. You have to make that pick. I could be sitting pretty. So
it's actually not a crazy thought, dude.
Yeah.
It's not a crazy thought. It kind of, one of them's going to be on your bench every week. It's going to be taking up a bench spot. Let's say the first 8 weeks of the season before you make that power trade, you're missing out on potential performances from Jonathan Taylor or a breakout season in Atlanta from Drake London. You're missing out on that the first 8 weeks potentially. And so you better fill out your roster well while either Mahomes or freaking Stroud's on your bench the first half of the season.
Yeah. But it also means he's not on your bench when I play you, or whoever.
Yeah, I mean, right? Yeah, so, I can't start Mahomes or Stroud if you have them both.
Yep. So it's as much a defensive play as it is an offensive play. So yeah, we'll see when it comes down to draft day which way I go. But I think that easy pick. I think the easy pick is CJ Stroud because that's such good value. We'll see about the number 2 pick in the future. Well, what's your final answer here?
All right. I think you're going to go with oh god, I think you're going to go with Jonathan Taylor and Stroud.
All right. I have my answer written down, so we'll see how that goes in 2 weeks.
Okay, good. All
All
right,
right.
I'll read my picks and then you tell me who I should pick. Okay.
All right, go for it.
All right. Here's mine. I don't have a lot. I think I did the worst future planning of all the managers last year, but I got Baker Mayfield round 22. He did finish as a top 10 quarterback last year. I think he finished ninth or something in our league. I got Zay Flowers in round 8, Tyler Lockett in round 5, Tyler Boyd in round 9. I got Jonathan Taylor in round 4, Ty Chandler um, receiving back in round 22. Tight end Tyler Kraft, round 22. That's not really an option. I got Jared Goff, round 19, and Justin Fields in round 16. What do you think I should do, Graham?
I think you should fool with Yahoo and see if you can find some other guys to put on your team. Um, all
Hey, man, I'll have you know that I won the losers bracket last year. Okay. You're
right, all
talking
right.
to a losers bracket champion right now.
This is
Watch
back.
yourself.
There you go. There you go. So I think that I would take Zay Flowers. I think Zay Flowers is what I wrote down. I think getting him in number 8. He's a number one receiver, not just in Baltimore, but his attitude is that of a number one receiver. He is confident and cocky and wants the ball, and
Yep.
he has that attitude of I'm number one receiver. So I like the attitude a lot. I like the speed, which you can't ever teach speed. He's got good hands. And then looking at next, I was like, for you, I was like, do I like, if you get Baker at 22, you can get him whenever you want. So I don't like that. I think Ty Lockett is the guy I really see would, even though he is older, he's 32,
Yeah.
didn't have a great 2023 season. He had 900 yards, 5 touchdowns, 80 receptions. But in terms of like your options, I think that's one. And then the other one is obviously Jared Goff, who
Mhm.
just signed a mega deal. Detroit believes in him. Detroit's going to have a great season. He's a guy that, he had 30 touch. He had how many touchdowns? He had 30 touchdowns last year. So 30 TDs on a better offense. They're going to be good. I think that you're going to have weeks where you're thankful you have Goff because he's going to throw for 400 yards, and some weeks he's going to have for 120 yards. So I think
Yeah.
if you get Goff, you also may get somebody else. But in terms of who you're choosing from, I don't like Ty Lockett at 5. I'm not
Yeah.
sure I like Ty Boyd at 9. I don't like Connor at 4. All these guys you can get anyone anywhere. So if I were you, I would lean towards Zay Flowers for that first reason and Goff because high powered offense, 19th round. That's good for me.
Yeah, I think that you're making a lot of sense. Jared Goff did finish as the number 3 quarterback in our league last year, right in front of Jalen Hurts. So even though he's not a running guy, that offense is so powerful through the air that he put up some good points last year. There was a little bit of separation between the second and third spot um, in the quarterback listing, but he did finish 3. So um, yeah, Jared Goff's an option. I don't have a lot of options. I'm glad that somehow I drafted all these rookie receivers last year thinking I was brilliant. Traded Jordan Addison to Sarge. But I ended up, keeping that Baltimore receiver who I like a lot. And so, yeah, the question I kind of have is like, I have this sneaky feeling that Justin Fields is going to be supplanting Russell Wilson fairly early in the season. I don't like to put all my chips in the Fields basket because I think he is limited as a passer. And in terms of just reading defenses generally, I think his like average time to throw is like half a second longer than like the slowest other quarterback in the league. I think he takes like 3.8 seconds on average to get rid of the ball, which is never a good sign. But his so dynamic running, so it would almost make sense to maybe just pick Fields as like a backup quarterback, just have him in round 16, get the quarterback I want in round 5, just have Fields as a backup potentially, because in case it goes well and by week 8, everyone's like, we were such idiots. Why didn't we know Fields was going to be a top 5 quarterback? I could maybe gamble on that, but It's tough, man. Goff and Zay Flowers are probably the safest choices I have, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, so here's what I think that why you won't take Justin Fields is because there's a quarterback that is going to be available later in the draft who you will have on your team for 3 years, and you're gonna be like shitting bricks every year. You're gonna get him in the 21st round, Jaden Daniels.
I
That's
knew
why
it, dude. Stop telling
that's
all my stop telegraphing my secret dreams to everybody, Graham.
so, this comes down to, in the middle of the draft in around 19, when we're all about 6 beers in us, will somebody remember, oh yeah, Jaden Daniels, I'm gonna get that guy for Jesse.
If
I
this is what always happens to me, and I got to make sure this doesn't happen when we do the draft Olympics. If I, every time Lenny was ever next to me in the draft, every single time he'd pick the player I wanted right before it got to me on the turn. And so as we do the draft Olympics, if Lenny's anywhere near me, I'm going to sabotage myself to get away from him because I don't know what it is about that dude. He stole so many of my favorite picks over the past 15 years, which makes me sick. And so Lenny's probably going to end up with Jaden Daniels. That's my sick prediction, just because you said that. But we're almost at the end of our show, Graham,
Yep.
and
No,
we've got one last.
so you have, are we get, we, I'm guessing Zay Flowers and Jared Goff.
Okay,
I think
yeah,
for
I
sure
think
you're taking Zay Flowers. The next guy, I'm not sure. So I'm putting that down as a question mark, and you will reveal that on draft day.
I will. I will. And we're going to move to Sarge now. And I just want to show you something funny. I just wrote down this little list. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on the screen. Um, but everyone's list I narrowed down to like, it's funny, you can't see it because of the background. Everyone's list I narrowed down to three, occasionally four, but most of the times two. I was like, these are the two they're going to pick. When I got to Sarge, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. I have 10 guys written down for him, but then I have no idea who he's going to pick. Like that's how deep his list is. So are you ready for me to read it?
I did the same thing. I got two guys, three guys, three guys, two guys, four guys, Sarge, six guys. And so
Yep.
we're both in the same part there. So it's funny we're both thinking the same thing.
All
All
right.
right, here we go.
Here we go for Sarge. He can choose. I don't know how he pulled this off. If my team could just be made up of all of his keepers, I'd be like, I crushed this draft. All right, here we go. He could keep Tua, quarterback from Miami, in round 20. He could keep Noah Brown, deep threat for the Texans in round 22. He could keep Jamison Williams, deep threat for Detroit, who has looked amazing in camp so far, round 22. He could keep Achan, running back for Miami, in round 22. He could keep Kenneth Walker, who he loves. Now that's round 5. Kenneth Walker would be round 5, but still, it's Kenneth Walker. He could keep the top tight end in the league, Sam Laporta, in round 22 for Detroit. He's got Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back for Detroit. Now that would be a round 3 pick, but still, it's Jahmyr Gibbs. He could keep Raheem Mostert in round 22. Sure, he's 32 years old now, but the guy crushed it last year. He could keep Jordan Addison for the Vikings receiver in round 7. Or if he wants to just have some fun, he could keep the deep threat for the Houston Texans and Tank Dell in round 22, or the solid running back who's got about a 50-50 timeshare in Khalil Herbert in round 6. So those are his options. There's a lot of talent there, dude, and there's a lot of late round picks. I don't even know where to start, so I'll let you.
Yeah, I mean, I look at this and the first thing I have to do is I have to take it's more like a process of elimination to get to where I want to go. And so I was
Okay.
saying, well, I'm Kenneth Walker at 5 or Jahmyr Gibbs at 3. I'm taking Jahmyr Gibbs over Walker. So I'm going to eliminate Walker if I'm going to go Gibbs, right?
Okay.
If I look at Addison versus like Jameson Williams, 22 versus 7. I'm leaning on Williams for 22. I can get Addison then.
Okay.
If I'm looking at so I'm kind of making these decisions like which one, this or that. But just looking at it, it's like an embarrassment of options for Sarge. It's crazy. So I'm like my first before we dive too deep into it, I'm thinking I'm taking Laporta. You get the number one tight end at one for sure, and then I would say you get Gibbs again. That's going to be the same guy, same team at three, but you guarantee guys RB4. I mean, Gibbs is going to go in the first round, so get him
Yep.
get him now, third round, and that frees you up for something later. So I'm thinking initially I would say Gibbs and Laporta, although I wouldn't be mad at Achan at 22. I mean, that another. I mean,
I
like,
know.
so do you just take Gibbs when you have your first round pick? I don't know the answer here because then you have so much more upside with having Achan at 22. I don't know where he goes.
Yeah. Achan is currently going right after Kyron Williams, and around like he's like a second round pick right now. People think that he's going to take a bulk of the load. He's a little bit undersized, but what if he doesn't go Laporta? And what if he just, actually, you're right, man. He should keep Laporta. He should keep Kenneth Walker, and he should draft Achan in round one. I mean, that would be a thick running back tight end group, and just focus on receiver, man. Like I don't think you go Tua in round 20. I think you can take him off the list. Um, Tua is a little fragile to me. I think he had a good year last year, but that offense gets figured out by like week 12, and they start slowing down, and they hate the cold weather. And plus, he's got the head injury. You don't go Noah Brown. Jameson Williams is interesting, but his talent gets beat out by other options here. So to me, it's Achan, it's Walker, it's Laporta, it's Gibbs. God, I think you get rid of Mostert, you get rid of Addison. Tank Dell is close, but he just misses the cut. So Achan, Walker, Laporta, or Gibbs. God, it's like those four. I don't even know. I think you got to pick Laporta, and then somehow, whoever you pick, whether it's Achan at 22, God, you know what? Achan at 22, you can't. The value's too much. You
Well,
got to go
that's
Laporta and Achan at 22, and then get Gibbs or Walker as you draft, and then you get some back. You get to feel like, well, I got him back somehow. But Gibbs is great, but it's around 3 compared to Achan, who's not that far behind him in round 22. I think that's where you got to go.
yeah, that's where I lean too. I was looking at this and I was like, same argument. I think that Achan and Gibbs are so close, but that's 19 rounds difference,
Yeah,
right?
and value.
Right. So that's 19 players, 18 players you're drafting in between that, right? It's a lot of value. And like you said, he could get both those players with this
Yeah,
draft anyway. He could draft Gibbs in the
yeah,
first round and Walker in the second round and still have them both and have Achan and have Laporta. I mean, then he's got 3 running backs in the top tight end, not dating Taylor Swift. So I don't know.
yeah. It's such a nice thing to have to choose from because these running backs, as we draft in the regular kind of just standard, process, they're really hard to get your hands on, man. And they're going to go quick. By the time round 4 hits, there's not going to be a running back out there that you really like or believe in that much. They're going to have so many question marks. These Achan, Gibbs, Kenneth Walker, Brees Hall, Bijan type of running backs, there's only like 8 of them. You know what I mean? And this guy can pick from 3 in his keepers. It's what a nice situation to be in, dude.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so what's your final answer here?
Yeah, I think it's got to be Achan and Laporta because of the value.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I mean,
Yep.
whatever he decides is going to make him sick because he's releasing, um, guys like, Jameer Gibbs and Tank Dell and Jameson Williams and Mostert and Tua, and he's going to be turning his back on a lot of special talent. But I'd like Addison a lot better if they had a better quarterback situation. I think their rookie out of Michigan is going to surprise some people and probably end up being good, but I think Addison's going to have a little bit of a drop off, so he's not really an option in this list. So yeah, let's go Achane and Laporta, man.
Yep. So we agreed on a lot of these picks.
We did.
On Craig, we disagree between White and Hurts, Lenny, Cook and Dak. We're the same on EG. The ski, we're different. Lamar versus Kincaid. Both have Pacheco. We both agree for me, CJ Stroud, and you said Taylor. I've got to reveal that. We both think Zay Flowers for you. I say golf. You have a surprise, and then Sarge. So I think it's funny how we're gonna have these picks come out. All of our fans are going to watch this podcast and give us their feedback, and then the day of the draft, we're gonna see what the people think. See what they dive into and who they fall in love with, and what changed between now and the draft day, and whose stock rises, whose stocks fall. So it's always a fun time, and it is interesting that the Miller suggestion of revealing the picks like either the day of the draft or day before would be interesting as compared to like doing it now and then having to do some sort of mock drafting. That makes you think a little bit more.
The only thing we didn't really hit on, I just didn't have time to kind of like match it all up, is the only thing that could sway people in different directions is, besides the injuries that may happen in preseason, but all of these trades that we make each year, and they're broken down, on the fantasy, on the Facebook page. I broke down everybody's trades. But if you could keep a guy in round 5, but you've given away your round pick, so instead they're going to be slotted in round 4 for you, like that might change some people's. They're like, maybe in round 5 I would have done it, but I don't have the round 5 pick, so I'm gonna have to take him around earlier. That might sway some people. So I didn't give that a ton of consideration for this exercise. So when you look at your keepers, make sure you know what rounds you've traded away next year. It's broken down on that Facebook post I put, and just keep that in mind as you look at this stuff.
Yeah, if you have 3 round 22 picks, someone's going to have to go 21. Someone's going to go 22. Right. So let's keep that in mind. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, it's always exciting to see what every manager does and what they're thinking, what someone else is doing across the way. But I definitely think that last year, and I will do this again this year for sure, take a top quarterback in the draft late in the round. You don't know what's going to happen. And that player hits, you've got it for 3 years. So same thing with running backs. Although I think that rookie running backs tend to get picked up a little earlier because they get used earlier. So
and it'll be interesting to see if guys like Caleb Williams, who like grabs them at the end just to see, because the Bears could have a good offense this year. Like we don't know yet, but it might be good to take a flyer on guys like that. So, all right, man, that was really fun, dude. And I think we did a pretty good job recapping everyone's. And I look forward to watching the finished product, buddy.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Thanks for watching, all of our fans around the world. Like and subscribe. Hit that like button.
That's right, man. Because you know what? It wasn't really just about our league. I think we provided some good analysis. I mean, I think we talked about, the statistical probabilities moving forward. I think this could be helpful to a lot of different leagues.
Yeah. And if you want us to do a podcast for your league, we can do that too. Small fee.
That's right, buddy. All right, Graham. I'll check you on the flip side. I'll see you in Ocean City in a couple weeks, man.
Sounds good.
Later, guys.